live look from our SDCCU.com camera. Good morning, 7:41. What a beautiful sunrise, huh? Are you working from home? I know many of us are. Many people are working from a new home office. Dr. Laura Fielding is joining us now with how to be successful at home. Good morning, and thank you for chatting with us here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I could see some people at home getting ready, trying to get the kids settled, having breakfast, and then they're going to start working from home. It's a new world. There's some good and there's some bad. Let's start with the benefits. What are people seeing that this is kind of cool?
Yeah, even pre-social distancing days, the polls were pretty consistent that people like working from home because what's not to like? No commute time, no boss breathing down your neck, and that freedom of scheduling so you can pick what you do and when you do it. But pretty quickly, there's a few things that consistently also crop up even before we were more or less forced to stay at home.
Yeah, let's talk about those things.
So
I
those
can
three
guess
things
one
include,
would be children.
Yes. Yes, the distractions of family. Setting effective boundaries with family members is challenging even on a good day, but when you're a little bit more on top of each other, it gets even more challenging. But also real difficulties with staying organized, and of course the social isolation becomes problematic.
Because you have the TV on. I mean, there was a period of time that I used to work from home as well, doing like the journalism thing. But the TV was on and then something, and then my nap turned into a little bit longer, and then there was just always laundry, something else to do. So how could people, as they're organizing their day, navigate through all that so they're still productive and they're getting things done?
Right. Well, because humans are naturally habitual creatures, we need to set up new habits. Since we've left the workplace, we no longer have our contextual or our environmental cues that more or less keep us on track. So when you're at home, this transition, you shouldn't expect it to just happen naturally. You're going to need a plan. You're going to need to set up your own contextual and environmental cues to keep you focused and on task.
You know, we think about it when you're working that 40 hours a week and you're in that grind, you're like, what it would be like to be at home in my jammies and working. But part of your advice is get out of those jammies, take a shower, get ready for work.
Indeed, it's so tempting to just roll out of bed, grab your coffee, and start working on your laptop even in bed. But I recommend against that because you're denying yourself the benefit of those contextual cues. When you put on something, even if it's just leisure wear or sweatpants, when you put on something specific during the day, that creates a cue for you of the difference between work time and downtime. And there are other things you can do as well. I really recommend making a work from home calendar that you prepare the week in advance and schedule appointments with yourself for the things and tasks and work things you need to get done. But make sure to schedule in those self-care breaks as well as your lunch breaks so you don't burn out.
I think it's also important. I've created it for the kiddos. It's as equally as important. My husband is working from home now, and he's like, this is my space. Stay out of my space, and this is where daddy needs to work.
Perfect. That's exactly right. So if you're lucky enough to have a home office, then putting up a do not disturb sign, just letting the kids know, letting anyone else in the household know. But if you live in a sort of an open loft-like space like I do, you're going to have to get a little more creative. You can do things like put your headphones on, light a scented candle that will also keep you a little rewarded for being in your workspace. Healthy snacks, other little things like that. And then, of course, communicate with your family members what your social cues are, what your contextual cues are, so they know that when that candle's on, when my headsets are on, I'm not to be disturbed unless it's very important.
Yeah, and I think that, Doctor, that's like the biggest takeaway, that the advice that you could give people, because there are so many families that you're trying to juggle the kids, and then you have two working parents, and everybody's trying to do their own thing. But I'm understanding from the takeaways, like sit down and just come up with a plan, and you'll make it through this.
Yes, but also there's one last really important thing, and that is to reinforce those behaviors in yourself and in others. When you successfully execute your plan to stay on task, give yourself a mental high five, but communicate your gratitude to your family members as well for helping you work in these new and work it from home successfully for helping you set those limits and reinforce those behaviors in them, because the more you do that, the more likely they are to continue helping you with those things, and the more successfully you'll implement these new work from home habits.
Absolutely true. I thanked my 8-year-old son for vacuuming yesterday, and now he just picks up and he just starts vacuuming even when nothing needs to be vacuumed. Dr. Laura Fielding, thank you for being here. Good advice.
With pleasure. Thank you.
Time now for your morning weather.